So looking at this truss, where do we start?
Start off finding the height.
Okay, finding the height.
So 7/12.
So got the 7/12 is the slope factor. We have to find this, the run, which is going to be half the span, so 18 feet.
H over 18.
So H over 18. So H is 10.5. Now I would list that as 10 feet 6 inches. You guys all know how to change decimal feet into feet, inches, and sixteenths right now, right? How about for J then? For J, yeah, we're looking at this triangle here. We know that this is now 10.5. I go back to the decimal feet. And this is 18. So to find this, it is the square root of 10.5 squared plus 18 squared. So second, square root, 10.5 squared plus 18 squared. 20.8387, we'll call it. So now that has to be converted into feet, inches, and sixteenths. How many feet is that? 20 feet. So now on my calculator, I'm going to subtract the 20. So I want to leave it in my calculator. Now what am I going to do? Convert to inches by times 12. So 10.06, that's 10 inches. I'll subtract the 10, and then what? Times 16 to give me sixteenths. 1.0, so that is 1/16. So 20 foot, 10 and 1/16 of an inch. What do you think? Not bad? Better than that sharp stick in the eye? Okay, Thurston. Okay. So, did you guys get done through number 38 in the packet? 31 through 38, these trusses? So for number 31, what did you get for the height? 21 feet, very good. For number 32, what did you get for the height? This is 32 feet with a 5/12 slope. Finding the height. 5 over 12 equals H over 16. Very good. We cross multiply and divide. We get 6.6666666666666. In other words, 6 2/3, right? But you'd subtract the 6, you got 6 feet, multiply by 12 gives you 8 inches. 6'8"? Yes? No? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Number 33, what'd you get for the height? 12 feet. 34, the height is? Be brave. This is 36 feet here. This is H. 4/12 slope. You got it. Cross multiply and divide. H is going to be 12. Number 35. What'd you get for H? 8 foot 4 inches. Very good. 36. 6 foot 6 inches. 37 for the height. Six foot 8, yep. And for J, 17.4. 38. Actually, you know what? How many of you had 37 done? One of you? 1 out of 4, that's not a bad average, I guess, huh? Nope, there's a little bit of, I would say, nope, a little bit of sarcasm there, guys. It is. So we've got a 32-foot span here. Makes this 16. H here, so to find H, it's 5 over 12. It's H over 16. We cross multiply and divide. H is 6 foot 8. I'm going to punch this in my calculator just so I have it. 5 times 16 divided by 12 gives me the 6.66666667. The reason I'm putting that in there is because I'm going to need that now to find J. Because J is going to be the square root of that 6.667 squared plus the 16 squared. Now watch how I do this. It's already in my calculator, 6.666666667. So I'm going to do second square root, second answer, which is telling it to take that previous answer, squared, plus 16 squared. 17.33333. And of course, 1/3 of a foot we know to be 4 inches. Or you could have subtracted the 17 multiplied by the 12 to get 4 inches. But by keeping it in the calculator, it comes out to be exactly 4. If you had tried to punch it back in as 6.666666667, then you get 4.01 or something like that. It'd be a little bit off. So it's a good habit to get into is figuring out how to keep those numbers in your calculator so you're not rounding them off, writing them down, and trying to type them back in. Any questions on that? Number 38. This is a 38-foot span. 812 slope. Once again, looking for H and J. How do I find H? Perfect. 8 over 12 is H over 19. So we shall cross multiply and divide. 8 times 19 divided by 12. 12.6666667. So it means H is 12 foot and how many inches? 8 inches. Now I'm going to pause there. That's something you guys should be starting to recognize. If you got 0.6666666, in other words, 2/3 of a foot, it is 8 inches. Find J. This is going to be the square root of that 12.667 squared plus 19 squared. So again, I have to keep this in the calculator. So second square root, second previous answer squared plus 19 squared. 22.835158808 blah 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 blah, right? So this is 22 feet. Tell me what to do. Subtract 22 times 12. 10.02, 10 inches. Then what? Subtract 10 times 16. I get 0.35. That's between 0 and 1. What's it closer to? 0. So that is just 22 feet, 10 inches. Questions, comments, complaints, cries for help. Okay, well, there are a couple of things we're going to do today in the first hour, and a couple more that we'll do in the second hour. But for now, we're going to continue with these trusses for just a little bit. We said these were wireframe trusses. That's why they came down to these perfect little corners here. No dimensions on the corners. But we know trusses don't really look like that. Trusses usually have some thickness to the wood, right? So it's going to look something like that. And of course, we're still ignoring the webs inside. But there's going to be some sort of a height here above where the wall would be. And that is called a heel height. So we're going to be looking at that heel height, using that heel height right now. So let's say that I give you that this is an 8-inch heel. And the span of this is 36 feet. And that this here is a 9/12 slope. I want to find H and I want to find J. Here's the thing. To start off, I don't want to try to find either one of them. To start off, I want to look at this triangle here. In other words, what I'm basically doing is I'm cutting off that heels on the bottom, and I'm dealing with that wireframe that I was before. What's this dimension across here? 18 feet. Now I'm going to find this dimension here, which I'm going to call A. How do I find A? 9/12 is A over 18. So we cross multiply and we divide and we get that A is 13.5. 13.5 exactly. So now that is 13 feet. How many inches? 6 inches. 0.5 to 6 inches. To get H, what do I have to add to that? 8 inches. So 6 plus 8 is 14 inches, which of course is 1 foot 2 inches. So we'll keep 2 inches and carry the 1 foot. That is 14 feet 2 inches for H. How about J? How would we find J? Well, to find J, we go back to this little triangle here that we created. The heel has nothing to do with the slope on J. You're absolutely correct. This is 18 and this is 13.5 yet, right? You got it. Square root of 18 squared plus 13.5 squared. 22.5. So J is 22 feet and 6 inches. What do you think? Good stuff? Just that extra little step. All you got to do is add the heel height to get the overall height. It's easiest probably to get A and then find J first, and then go back and take A and add the heel height so you're not tempted to use H for finding J. So let's say I've got a 5/12 slope here. But now I have this hanging over the edge of the wall. That is called an overhang. So I have overhangs, the tails of my truss hanging over the wall. In this case, it's 2 feet to make it simple. I still do this. This is going to be how much? 19 feet. H here is going to be straightforward again. There is no heel height there on this one. So 5 times 9 divided by 12. It's 5 times 19 divided by 12, I should say. Is 7.916666666. Now, I'm going to keep that for a second. Actually, you know what? No, let's convert it. That's 7 feet. Let's subtract the 7. 0.91. What am I going to do with that? Times 12. Make it inches. It's 11 inches. So that's 7 foot 11 inches. Now I lost my 7.9111 or 7.9166666667. How do I get it back? I can do this. I'm going to take my 7 foot 11 inches and convert it back into decimal feet. To do that, I start with my 11 inches. I'm going to divide by 12. I'm going to add the 7 feet back to it. I've got it back. So now to find J, however, am I going to use that in the 19? Say no. No, what do we got to use? There's a bigger triangle here we got to work with. No, it's 19 plus 2. This is 21 feet down here. This height, however, is not going to be H. So I'm going to call this A. I've got to find that height. 5 over 12 equals A over 21. So we're going to do 5 times 21 divided by 12 is 8.75. A is 8.75. I can add 2 on the bottom here to the span, but not to the length of the tail. Because this is actually going to be longer than 2 feet here, right? Yeah, you can't just find J and add 2 feet. You can add 2 feet in this direction because it is a horizontal 2 feet. So now J here is going to be the square root of the 8.75 squared plus 21 squared. .75. So 22.75. That's 22 feet. 0.75. 3/4 of a foot is how many inches? Plus 3/4 of 12 is 9. Take 9, divide by 4 times 3. So we got 22 feet 9 inches, and we got 7 foot 11 inches for H. Questions? Comments? So here we want to find H and J again. Notice the overhang's not 2 feet, though it is 22.5 inches. Why on earth would you do that? Actually, it's very common to order a truss, if you're having an engineered truss, and if it has to be designed specifically for the house, to order it with 22.5 inch overhangs instead of 24. What you get off the rack at Menards, it's called a stock truss. if you're getting a stock truss, it's going to come with 24-inch overhangs no matter what. You get them cheaper because you're going to have to adjust them on the job site. But if you're going to pay the fee to custom order them, a lot of people order them 21.5. That way they don't have to trim the tails. They can just put their 2x6 sub fascia out there and they got 24 inches. So let's find H. To find H, we need to know this dimension here, which is 16. So 8 over 12 equals H over lay 16. Which, of course, we all know by now is 10 foot 8 inches, right? 10.6667, otherwise known as 10 foot 8 inches. Now, how do we find J? We've got to do that triangle, right? Yes, we've got to find A. What's the bottom of this going to be? That's 16 feet plus 22.5 inches, correct? Yes, no. So how do we combine 16 feet with 22.5 inches? We're going to do the 1 divided by 2 equals 0.5. Then we're going to add the 22. Now, I realize most of you know that 1/2 is 0.5. I did that because what if it's 13/16 or something like that? You do 13 divided by 16, then add the inches to it. So we got 22.5 inches. Now we're going to divide that by 12 to make it feet. And then we're going to add that to the 16. So this actually works out to be 17.875 feet. So to get A, got 812 slope equals A over 17.875. So I'm going to take 17.875 times 8 divided by 12 is 11.9166666666. So now that's the one I want to keep in the calculator. It's 11 foot, 11 inches, by the way, for those of you trying to follow along at home. So this here is the square root of 11.91667 squared plus 17.875 squared. So let's see what that comes out to be. Square root of my previous answer squared plus 17.875 squared is going to give us 21.48307. 21.483 we're going to call it for now. Feet. But of course we're going to come up here. This is going to be 21, and then what? Subtract the 21 and times 12 to make it inches. 5.79, so that's going to be 5 inches. Then what? Subtract the 5 times 16. 12.75. So it's between 12 and 13. It's closer to 13, so it's 13/16. So 21 feet, 5 and 13/16 inches. What do you think? Not bad? Well, good. Let's keep it going. So now, let's say we got a 2-foot overhang, 28-foot span, and I'm going to give you a 13-inch heel height on a 10-12 slope. I want to find H and I want to find J. going to start out with this triangle here. I'm going to call this B. How do I find B? Perfect. Perfect. This is 14 feet because it's half of the span of 28. 10 over 12 equals the rise of B over the run of 14. And we cross multiply and divide. So 10 times 14 divided by 12 is going to give us 11.667. So in other words, 11 foot 8 inches. And to that we have to add, for H, 13 inches, which is 1 foot 1 inch, right? So that's 9 inches, 12 feet. So H is 12 foot 9 inches. Feel free to cheer. So we've got H. Now to find J. That came out way creepier than I meant it to. So we're looking at this triangle. We know that this down here is 16 feet. Where'd that come from? Yeah, 14 plus 2, 16. This we're going to call A. So first we're going to find A. So we've got 10 over 12 equals A over 16. So 10 times 12, or 10 times 16 divided by 12, 13.33. This is 13 foot 4 inches. And now for this, it's going to be 13.33 squared plus 16 squared. So second square root, second answer, squared, plus 16 squared equals 20.827. Now what? J is 20 feet. We subtract the 20. Then what? So times 12. 9.927, so we keep the 9. Then what do we do here? Subtract the 9 times the 16. 14.8 is closer to 15/16. So what do you think? So in this packet now, you should be able to do up to number 60. But wait, there's more. On the very back of the packet, problems 87 through 92. I'm going to do a couple of examples of these so that you can have an idea. Let's say we've got something that's rated as 8 pounds per gallon, per 1 gallon. I want to know how many ounces that's going to be for 3 quarts. I must have, when I do this, I either have to have the same units on top and bottom, both places, or I have to have the same units going this way. Well, can I convert pounds into gallons? No. Certainly can't convert ounces into quarts either. So I've got to deal with the horizontal. I can convert pounds into ounces. Times 16. 8 times 16 is going to give us 128 ounces. So 8 pounds is 128 ounces. 1 gallon is how many quarts? That's 4 quarts. So now we can cross multiply and divide. 128 times 3 divided by 4 is 96. That's 96 ounces. You look confused, Tate.
No. It's just the list conversion things.
Okay. So here's a fun one for us. Let's say I've got 60 pounds per 1 square foot. And I want to turn that into ounces per square inch. So again, my 60 pounds are going to have to become ounces. So that'd be 60 pounds times 1 pound is 16 ounces, right? So 60 times 16 is 960 ounces. 1 square foot is how many square inches? Do not say 12. 144, good. So now, I should have put in a number here for square inches. Let's say that I'm going to put in ounces per 6 square inches. That'll make this work out nice. So now we are going to have to cross multiply and divide. 960 times 6 divided by 144 is 40 ounces for 6 square inches. What do you think? Interesting? That's your way of saying, oh crap?
No, it's, yeah.
Okay. So also in the packet, so I want you working on all of them up to 60. I also want you doing 87 through 92. I'll give you guys the last 15 minutes, 14 minutes of this hour to work on them. We'll take our break and then we'll start up again.